The stars glimmered like tiny silver pins against the deep black fabric of space. Captain Ji-hoon Park stood perfectly still on the bridge of the Resilience *, his hands clasped behind his back. The massive research vessel moved slowly through an unexplored sector of the Orion Arm, its sensors probing the darkness for any sign of interest. Yoona Kim, the ship's chief science officer, broke the silence. Her fingers danced across holographic displays, sorting through incoming data streams. "Captain," she called out, "we're picking up something unusual." Ji-hoon turned. His eyes, dark and sharp, focused on the holographic projection that flickered to life between them. A planet appeared, blue-green and partially covered in clouds. Around it, a network of simple satellites orbited in predictable patterns. They looked old, almost forgotten. Scanning for life signs, Yoona muttered, her voice a mix of concentration and excitement. She was the kind of scientist who sought every new discovery as a puzzle waiting to be solved. The ship's computer hummed. Bright lines of data scrolled across the screens. Then, a signal. Weak but clear. Someone was down there. "First contact protocol," Ji-hoon ordered. His voice was calm, almost routine. Humans had made contact with dozens of alien species over the past century. Each encounter was different, but they had learned to be patient. The landing shuttle cut through the planet's atmosphere like a knife. Ji-hoon piloted personally with Yoona and 3 other crew members. The landscape below was rocky, with large plains of gray-green vegetation that looked more like moss than grass. In the distance, geometric structures rose from the ground, clear signs of intelligent design. As they landed, Ji-hoon checked his translation device. It was an advanced piece of technology that could interpret languages in real time, based on complex linguistic algorithms and massive databases of known communication patterns. A group of aliens approached. They were tall, almost 2 meters, with skin that seemed to shift colors slightly, like a living camouflage. Their movements were deliberate, almost choreographed. Each step looked planned, each gesture calculated. The lead alien raised a hand in what seemed to be a greeting, but something felt off. Yoona noticed it first. The gesture was technically correct, but it lacked warmth. It was like watching a perfect performance that had no soul behind it. "Greetings," the alien spoke. The translation device worked instantly. "We are the Trelvacs. You have entered our space." Ji-hoon smiled. It was a diplomatic smile. Practiced, professional. "We come in peace," he responded. "We are from Earth, representatives of the United Human Exploration Fleet." The lead Trelvax tilted its head. The movement was so precise it almost looked mechanical. "We are aware of Earth," it said. "We have been observing your species." Yoona's hand unconsciously moved closer to her datapad. Something in the alien's tone made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. It wasn't a threat. Not exactly. But it wasn't a welcome either. The conversation continued. Polite words were exchanged. Technical details discussed. But underneath, a tension hummed like a hidden electrical current. The Trelvacs were listening, but they weren't truly hearing. They were studying, analyzing, judging. Neither Ji-hoon nor Yoona could have known then how this first meeting would change everything. How these seemingly calm, precise aliens would become the species that pushed humanity to its absolute limit. But that was a story still waiting to unfold. 2 months after the first contact, Yoona Kim sat in her small office aboard the Resilience *. Screens covered every wall, each one displaying a different set of data. Her eyes were red from hours of continuous research. Something was wrong, and she knew it. The Trelvacs seemed simple at first, but simple was not the same as innocent. Her computer blinked with another decoded communication. This one was different. It wasn't meant to be found. Yoona's fingers moved quickly, tracing the complex paths of information. Each message was like a puzzle piece, and she was slowly putting the entire picture together. Captain Ji-hoon Park entered the room. He carried 2 cups of coffee, one for himself, one for Yoona. "Talk to me," he said. It wasn't a request. It was a command from a captain who knew his science officer rarely got this focused without good reason. Yuna pointed to the main screen. "Look at these trade routes," she said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking slightly. "The Trellvax have been blocking human colony expansion for years. Not directly. Not in a way that looks like an attack. But carefully. Slowly." The screen showed a map of human-explored space. Red lines cut across the blue zones where human colonies wanted to expand. Each red line represented a blocked trade route, a denied exploration permit, or a complicated legal challenge. "They're using other species," Yuna continued. "Proxy civilizations that don't even know they're being used. See this planet. A mining permit was denied because of an environmental concern raised by a species 3 systems away. And this colony, delayed by complicated immigration rules created by another alien government." Ji-hoon studied the map. His military training kicked in. This wasn't random. This was a strategy. "How long has this been happening?" he asked. Yuna pulled up more data. "At least 15 years. Maybe longer. They've created a web of legal and economic obstacles. Each one looks small. Each one looks reasonable. But together, they're slowly pushing human expansion into a smaller and smaller space." The room went quiet. Outside the ship's windows, stars continued their silent dance. But inside, a different kind of movement was happening. The discovery of a plan that had been years in the making. Ji-hoon touched one of the screens. A colony world appeared, a place where humans had tried to build a new home. "How many colonies have been affected?" he asked. 17 confirmed, Yuna responded. "But I suspect the real number is much higher." The captain's communicator buzzed. It was a message from Earth Central Command. They wanted a full report, but Yuna and Ji-hoon both knew that a report was just paper. The real work would be understanding the Trellvax's true intentions. "They're not just blocking us," Yuna said softly. "They're studying us, watching how we react, testing our limits." Ji-hoon looked at her. For a moment, something dangerous flickered in his eyes. It was the look of a person who had just realized a game was being played, and that they were not going to lose. "Then we'll give them something to watch," he said. The Resilience continued its journey through space. But now, everything had changed. What started as a simple first contact had become something much more complicated. The Trellvax thought they were playing a careful, hidden game. They had no idea what was coming. The Concordia space station floated like a giant glass bubble between 2 star systems. It was neutral ground, a place where different species could meet and talk. Today, it would become something else entirely. Ji-hoon Park stood at the center of the main conference hall. Around him, representatives from dozens of alien species watched. Some looked curious. Some looked bored. A few looked worried. The Trellvax diplomat approached the central platform. Its name was Krell-Nat, though most humans just called it the Speaker. Krell-Nat moved with that same precise movement Yuna had noticed during their first meeting. Each step was calculated. Each gesture planned. "Honored representatives," Krell-Nat began, "we wish to discuss the recent human expansion attempts." Ji-hoon knew what was coming. The Trellvax would once again try to paint human exploration as dangerous. They would use smooth words and complicated arguments to make humans look like a threat. But today would be different. Ji-hoon activated the holographic display. Hundreds of documents appeared. Legal papers, communication logs, trade reports. Each one told a story of how the Trellvax had been blocking human progress. "Let me be clear," Ji-hoon said. His voice was calm but strong. "For 15 years, the Trellvax have been creating obstacles for human colonies, not through direct conflict, not through open war, but through a complex web of legal tricks and economic pressure." The room went silent. Holographic documents started to play. Each one showed a different way the Trellvax had worked to slow down human expansion. A mining permit denied because of a fake environmental report. A colony ship delayed by complicated immigration rules. Trade routes blocked by legal challenges. Krellnat tried to interrupt. "These are misunderstandings," it said, but its voice sounded less confident now. Ji-hoon continued, "We have evidence. Detailed, clear evidence. The Trellvax have been using other species as tools. Proxy civilizations that don't even know they're being manipulated." More documents appeared. Communication logs. Secret messages. Each one showed how the Trellvax had carefully planned their strategy. Some alien representatives started to lean forward. They were listening carefully now. "Humans are not a threat," Ji-hoon said. "We come in peace. We want to explore. We want to learn. But we will not be stopped by hidden plans and secret tricks." Krellnat's skin started to change color, a sign of stress among its species. It knew the game had changed. Yuna, watching from the side, felt a mix of excitement and tension. This was more than a diplomatic meeting. This was a turning point. The holographic display showed one final document. It was a complete timeline of Trellvax interference. Every blocked colony. Every delay project. Every legal trick. "We are not asking for war," Ji-hoon said. "We are asking for fairness. We are asking for truth." The room was completely silent. Alien representatives from different species looked at each other. Some looked shocked. Some looked impressed. The Trellvax had made a mistake. They thought they could hide their plans. They thought humans would not notice. They were wrong. As Ji-hoon finished speaking, something changed in the room. The balance of power had shifted. And nobody, especially not the Trellvax, saw it coming. The game had changed, and humanity was just getting started. Deep in a hidden base on a small moon, Commander Seekman studied the latest intelligence reports. The room was dark, with only blue screens providing light. Outside the reinforced windows, stars watched silently. "We need to go deeper," he muttered to himself. The Trellvax thought they were clever. They had been using other species to block human expansion for years. But they made one big mistake. They didn't understand how humans think. Seekman's team was special. They weren't soldiers. They were researchers, economists, cultural experts. Their weapons were information and understanding, and they were about to change everything. On the first screen, a complex network appeared. It showed how the Trellvax connected with different alien species. Each connection was like a thin line. Some were strong. Some were weak. Seekman's team was looking for the weak points. Yuna Kim appeared on a video call. She was still on the resilience asterisk, but her mind was here with the team. "We found something interesting," she said. The screen changed. A new set of documents appeared. These were communications between the Trellvax and a small trading species called the Vorn. The messages looked normal to most people, but Seekman's team saw the hidden messages. "Look at the communication patterns," Yuna explained. "The Trellvax aren't just blocking human colonies. They're creating fear. They're telling other species that humans are dangerous." Seekman nodded. "A story can be a powerful weapon," he said. The team started to build a counterplan. They would not fight with weapons. They would fight with information, with understanding, with the truth. One of Seekman's analysts, a woman named Hannah, pulled up more data. "The Vorn are important," she said. "They control trade routes in 3 star systems. If we can show them the truth about the Trellvax, we can change everything." The plan was complex but simple. They would gather information. They would show the other species exactly what the Trellvax had been doing. Slowly, carefully. Another screen showed a map of alien civilizations. Each one was connected by trade routes, communication networks, and cultural exchanges. The Trellvax thought they were hidden, but they were wrong. "We're going to pull the strings," Seekman said. His voice was calm, but there was something dangerous in his eyes. Hannah looked up. "How?" she asked. Seekman smiled. It was not a happy smile. "We're going to use their own system against them. The team worked through the night. They collected messages. They studied communication patterns. They created detailed reports that showed exactly how the Trellvax had been manipulating other species. Each piece of information was like a puzzle piece. Slowly, a bigger picture was forming. The Trellvax had thought they were playing a careful game. They had thought no one would notice their hidden plans. They believed they could control the story. They were wrong. Outside, the stars continued to shine. Inside the base, a different kind of war was being planned. A war of information. A war of truth. And humanity was just getting started. The Orion resource system was supposed to be peaceful. It was a place where different species could work together. It was supposed to be fair. Yuna Kim knew something was wrong the moment she saw the first reports. Her computer screen showed complicated trade documents. Most people would see nothing special. But Yuna saw the hidden truth. The Trellvax were making their move. A small planet in the system, called Gamma 9, was rich with rare minerals. 3 different species had been working together to develop the planet. Humans were one of those species. The planet was supposed to be a shared project. But the Trellvax had other plans. Using a complex network of legal tricks, they started to push other species out. They used old agreements. They created new rules. They made everything so complicated that most species would give up. Most species, but not humans. Ji-hoon Park received Yuna's report. He read it carefully. Each page showed another layer of the Trellvax's plan. They weren't just blocking one project. They were trying to control an entire star system. This is their biggest mistake, Ji-hoon said to himself. Commander Sukmin's intelligence team had been preparing for this moment. They had studied the Trellvax for months. They understood how the aliens thought. They knew exactly what the Trellvax would do next. The Trellvax believed they were being smart. They thought they could use complicated rules to control the resource system. They thought no one would notice their careful plan. They were wrong. Yuna started to collect evidence. Every document, every communication, every tiny detail became important. She was building a case that would show the entire galaxy what the Trellvax were doing. The first step was the Galactic Concord, a big meeting where different species could discuss important problems. Humans would present their evidence there. But this was more than just a meeting. This was a moment that would change everything. Ji-hoon prepared his presentation. It wasn't just about numbers and documents. It was about showing the truth. It was about proving how the Trellvax had been working against other species for years. Sukmin's team worked in the background. They were collecting more information. They were making connections that no one else could see. The Trellvax thought they were playing a careful game. They thought they could control everything with complicated rules and hidden plans. But they had made one big mistake. They had made humans angry. And when humans get angry, they don't just fight. They think. They plan. They find ways to solve problems that no one else can see. The presentation was ready. The evidence was collected. The stage was set. The Trellvax had no idea what was coming. In the cold darkness of space, something was about to change. A line was about to be crossed, and the Trellvax would learn an important lesson. Never underestimate humanity. The room was quiet, but it was not empty. Commander Sukmin stood in front of a huge screen. Around him, the best minds humanity could find watched and waited. This was not a military meeting. This was something different. "We will not fight with weapons," Sukmin said. His voice was clear and strong. "We will fight with something more powerful." The screen behind him showed a complex map. It wasn't a map of space. It was a map of connections, how different species talked to each other, how they traded, how they shared information. Yuna Kim stood to one side. She had spent months collecting data. Every communication, every trade route, every small detail about the Trellvax and their allies. "They think like a machine," she explained. "Their entire society is built on a system of social credits and reputation. Everything is calculated. Everything is planned. An economist named Hannah stepped forward. She had special skills. She could see patterns that others missed. "We don't need to destroy them," she said. "We just need to break their system." The plan was simple but clever. Humans would not attack the Trollvax directly. They would attack the way the Trollvax worked. First, they would show other species the truth. The Trollvax had been blocking and controlling other civilizations for years. Slowly, carefully. Most species didn't even know they were being controlled. Ji-hoon Park entered the room. He carried a stack of documents. Each one was proof of the Trollvax's hidden plans. "Information is our weapon," he said. The team started to work. They created special messages. These messages would spread through alien communication networks. They looked normal, but they would slowly change how other species saw the Trollvax. One screen showed the Trollvax's communication network. It looked like a complex spider web. Each line was a connection between different species. The humans would use these same lines to spread their message. "We will make them invisible," Seekman said. "We will make other species stop trusting them." Hannah showed a new chart. It demonstrated how the Trollvax's entire system worked. Their society was like a big machine. If you understood how the machine worked, you could stop it without breaking anything. The team worked day and night. They didn't use weapons. They used computers. They used information. They used understanding. Outside the room, space continued its silent dance. Stars watched. Planets turned. But inside this room, something important was happening. Humans were preparing for a different kind of war. A war of ideas. A war of truth. The Trollvax had no idea what was coming. They thought they were smart. They thought they could control everything. They believed their system was perfect. They were wrong. Humanity was about to show them exactly how wrong they were. And the galaxy would watch. Yuna Kim stared at the screen. Her eyes were tired, but her mind was sharp. Something important was happening. She could feel it. For months, she and her team had been studying the Trollvax. Not just their actions, not just their messages, but how they thought, how they worked, how their entire society functioned. The Trollvax believed they were perfect. Their society was built like a complex machine. Every action had a score. Every interaction created points. They called it the social harmony system. Imagine a world where everything you do gets a number. Talk to a neighbor. Points added. Make a mistake. Points taken away. The Trollvax lived like this every day. They're scoring themselves all the time, Yuma told Ji-hoon. Everything is a calculation. Ji-hoon looked at the screen. Hundreds of communication logs showed how the Trollvax tracked each other. A conversation wasn't just a talk. It was a performance. Each word carefully chosen to gain more points. Commander Seekman's team discovered something interesting. The Trollvax were afraid of losing points more than anything else. Losing points meant losing status, losing respect, losing everything. Their weakness is their own system, Seekman said. The plan was clever. Humans would not attack the Trollvax directly. They would use the Trollvax's own system against them. Hannah, the team's economic expert, created special messages. These messages looked normal, but they were designed to make the Trollvax lose points in their own system. One message would show how the Trollvax had been unfair to other species. Another would reveal a hidden mistake. Each message was like a small knife, cutting into the Trollvax's reputation. The first test worked perfectly. A message spread through the Trollvax communication networks. It showed how the Trollvax had been blocking other species' growth. The message was true. It was carefully written. And it was designed to hurt the Trollvax in their own scoring system. The results were fast. Trollvax leaders started to lose points. Their social status dropped. Other Trollvax started to avoid them. In their system, this was worse than any physical punishment. They can't fight back, Yuna said. If they try to stop our messages, they'll lose more points. If they ignore the messages, they'll lose points too. It was perfect. Humans have found the Trellvax's biggest weakness: their need to always look good, their fear of losing status. The Trellvax thought they were playing a careful game. They thought they could control everything. They were wrong. Humanity had found their weakness, and they were just getting started. Outside, stars continued to shine. Planets turned, but something was changing. A system was about to break. And the Trellvax had no idea what was coming. The first cracks appeared slowly, so slowly that most people didn't notice. A Trellvax communication network began to shake, not with loud sounds, not with big explosions, but with something quieter, something more dangerous: doubt. Yuna Kim watched the screens. Each screen showed a different part of the Trellvax communication system. What looked like a strong network was actually becoming very weak. Commander Seekman leaned forward. "It's working," he said. The plan was simple but powerful. Humans had found the Trellvax's biggest weakness. Their entire society worked like a complex machine. Points were everything. Reputation was everything. And now, that machine was breaking. One message spread, then another, then hundreds. Each message showed how the Trellvax had been controlling other species. Each message took points away from Trellvax leaders. In their system, losing points was worse than losing a battle. Trellvax leaders tried to fight back, but every move they made lost them more points. They couldn't stop the messages. They couldn't hide the truth. Other species started to watch. They saw how the Trellvax had been controlling them for years. Slowly, carefully, species that thought they were independent realized they were not. Jihoon Park watched from the resilience asterisk. "We're not destroying them," he told Yuna. "We're showing the truth." The Trellvax system was like a big building. It looked strong from the outside. But inside, the walls were made of paper. One small push and everything would fall. Hana, the economic expert, explained it best. "Their entire society is based on looking good," she said. "When people stop believing they look good, everything breaks." More messages spread, each one carefully designed, each one true, each one taking more points away from the Trellvax. Their allies started to leave. Other species stopped talking to them. In the Trellvax system, this was the worst thing that could happen. Seekman's team had studied the Trellvax for months. They knew exactly how to break the system. Not with weapons, not with ships, but with information. The truth. Slowly, the Trellvax communication network started to break. Messages slowed down. Connections became weaker. Their perfect system was falling apart. And they couldn't stop it. Yuna looked at Jihoon. "We didn't fire a single weapon," she said. Jihoon smiled. "We didn't need to." Outside, stars continued to shine. Planets turned. But something important was happening. A system was falling apart, and humanity had shown the galaxy something important. Intelligence is the most powerful weapon. The Trellvax thought they were unbeatable. They thought they could control everything. They were wrong. Years passed. The story of the Trellvax became something different. Not a story of war, not a story of fighting, but a story of how intelligence can change everything. Commander Seekman stood in front of young diplomats. The room was quiet. Everyone listened carefully. "The Trellvax thought they could control the galaxy," he said. "They were wrong." He told the story, not as a victory, but as a lesson. Yuna Kim sat in the back of the room. She remembered everything. How they had discovered the Trellvax's weakness. How they had used information as a weapon. "We didn't destroy them," Seekman explained. "We showed the truth. And the truth is more powerful than any weapon." The young diplomats looked confused. One raised her hand. "How did you do it?" she asked. Seekman smiled. "We understood their system better than they did," he said. The Trellvax still existed, but they were different now. Their perfect social system was broken. Other species saw them differently. They were no longer the controllers. They were just another civilization. Ji-hoon Park wrote a book about what happened. It wasn't about fighting. It was about understanding, about how different species think, about how communication can be a weapon. The galaxy had learned something important. Humanity was not just strong. Humanity was smart. In schools across different planets, students learned about the Trellvax incident. It became a lesson about how intelligence works, how understanding is more important than power. The Resilience continued to explore space. Yuna still worked as a science officer. But now, she did more than just collect data. She helped other species understand each other. We are not alone in the universe, she would tell her students. But we are not just another species. We are problem solvers. Seekmin continued to train diplomats. His lessons were not about fighting. They were about thinking, about understanding how different systems work. The Trellvax became a story that other species told, a story about what happens when you underestimate intelligence. Ji-hoon often said one thing: anger is a tool, precision is the weapon. And no one talked about the Trellvax anymore. Not because they were destroyed, but because they were completely forgotten. Space continued to be big and mysterious. Planets turned, stars shined, and humanity continued to explore, to learn, to understand. The galaxy had changed, and it would never be the same again.